Alright, what is up YouTube? This is Joe Kempsey, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the two games that I had the privilege of playing against Magnus Carlsen, world champion from Norway. And I'll give you guys a bit of a backstory behind, how I managed to play him both of these times. So without further ado, let's start with the first game. And basically, I won a spot in a simo against Magnus Carlsen for this game in 2018 through the Play Magnus app. I'm not sure if they're going to be doing this anymore because they haven't done it the past 2 years. But basically, in the app, they pick a few people at random, but they pick also people who top the leaderboards against Magnus Carlsen. Basically, if you win or draw, you get points in the app. So they picked, a few people at random and also people who top the leaderboard. So I managed to win a trip to Germany to play against Magnus Carlsen. This was from October 2018. No, I was a bit weaker at the time, but let's hop right into this game here. So Magnus played pawn to d4, and I played knight f6. So I had decent opening knowledge, nothing too crazy. e6, knight f3, d5. So like a Nimzo type of setup here for black. Knight to c3 by Magnus. So far pretty standard. I went bishop b4 here, simply pinning this knight to the king. So Magnus decides to take on d5. I recapture with a pawn. This is all book. This is all theory. Bishop to g5 here. And when I make mistakes, I'll let you guys know. I don't remember exactly what Magnus said off the top of my head, but when I see the mistake, I'll know what he told me. Because after the game, he actually would go over the moves and the mistakes that you've made. So that was a pretty cool feature of the Play Live Challenge as well. Again, I don't know if they're doing that anymore. But anyway, e3 by white. And I play c5. This is a good move. And bishop to d3. So I believe Magnus said, I should have went for, before playing c5, I should have went for bishop to f5 and get like a Rogozin type defense. But c5 is not a bad move. And bishop to d3 by Magnus, preparing to castle kingside. I take c4 is a better move. Knight recaptures on d4. I take on c3, pawn takes. And you see, Magnus has a slightly better position at this point. Pawn to h6. I try, I was hoping he would exchange on f6, but after h6 he drops the bishop back. I develop my knight. This is a good move. Knight bd7 is more common in these type of structures. But castles. Rook e8, again, not a terrible move. And Magnus secures the semi-open file with rook b1. And I decided to take here. Best move is knight to e5. And Magnus pointed this out. I'm really just helping him out with this pawn structure. And I'll be honest with you guys, I was pretty nervous because this was over the board. And, I'm playing the world champion, and I'm not that strong. So, yeah. But b6 is a good move. So, basically, protecting this pawn so I can get up my bishop without, dropping, maybe not bishop to g4, maybe bishop b6 or something without dropping the b7 pawn. So b6 is a good move. And also I could find Keto here on b7. And this is where I started to slip after bishop to b5. I make this mistake, but pause the screen if you'd like and see how to take advantage of this mistake and pretty much go up a pawn and just end up having much more active pieces. And the correct move is to take on f6. And g takes f6 is forced, because if I play queen takes here, then this bishop's going to be hanging. So my pawn structure is already weakened. And queen f3 by white. I take on b5, again, another inaccuracy. Showing a bit of nerves by just capturing pieces, hoping to survive that way. Rook takes b5. So queen e7, this is best. I did manage to find this plan to kind of stifle Magnus's attack. Obviously Magnus is, at this point, completely winning, but I'm not getting mated at least in like 10 moves, let's say. But I dropped the rook back, and from here, I was hoping to try to make something work on the queen side, but there's literally nothing, and a5 is met by a4 simply, and, a5 just looks meaningless after a4 by white, because now there's never going to be a b5 pawn break. So being completely honest, this was not my best display. King f8, and I believe I just resign here. Like, this is a stupid move to make, rook e6. I don't know why I bothered playing on from here. Pawn takes, and I mean, there's no hope really for black. If I try chasing this pawn here, which Magnus is gonna, be able to crit a pass pawn if I don't. So if I try going this way, then Magnus is just gonna bring his king through here, and he has a 5-3 pawn majority, so I don't think it should be too difficult for him to convert this endgame. Down 2 pawns, I decided to resign after king e3. So this wasn't my best display, but then again, I wasn't that strong in 2018. But now I'll show you guys my second game, which was played just last year in 2020. So for the second game that I had against Magnus Carlsen, which was played just last year, I actually had the white pieces this time around. And basically, I won the chance to play against him this time, also through the Play Magnus app, where there was a tournament where basically the top 10 players against Magnus Carlsen at age 8. It wasn't 100% guaranteed that you would get a chance to play Magnus, but if you got the most wins against Magnus age 8, or placed in that top 10, you had a very good chance of being selected to win a game, and I did manage to win a game. So I have the white pieces here. This is a blitz game. I believe I had 2 minutes, and I had 6 minutes, and Magnus had 2 minutes on his clock. I have the white pieces. Let's go. I go pawn to e4. This game was played like 7 a.m. my time because, I'm in the States, and Magnus was playing, relatively early time for Norway. It's like 1 o'clock in Norway, I believe. So I was like just waking up. I probably should have got better sleep that night, but I couldn't really fall asleep. But e4, c5, I went knight to f3, d6. Immediately decided to break things open with d4, and after takes, knight to f6, knight c3. This is all theory, and a6 and knight orf. Bishop e2. I went for a more classical setup. Here, knight to f3. I mean, maybe knight f3 or knight to b3 is slightly better engine-wise, but knight f3 seems more logical to me at least. Bishop to e7 here by black though, and I decide to castle. I have a very solid position here. Black castles as well. I played rook to e1, and Magnus. This was actually played on chess 24.
Bishop g5 to come. Rook e1. It's a little bit surprising to me. Maybe I'll go h6.
So he plays h6, and I do the same thing on my side, basically preventing this bishop from coming to g4 and prevent myself from getting mated, too quickly. So bishop e6 by Magnus. I play b3, knight bd7, and I'm playing decent moves here, though Magnus, as you can see by the engine bar, he has a slight advantage now. Bishop to a3, rook to c8 by black, and I go knight to d5. Bishop takes, I recapture with the pawn, and queen a5. This is where it gets a bit shaky. I play the bishop back to b2. Knight takes on d5. Play c4. Knight jumps into the game. I take the knights. Queen takes, and I play rook to c1. This is not a terrible move, but black is slowly but surely gaining more and more of an advantage against me. So queen retreats, hitting a2 immediately. I play rook c2, protecting the pawn on a2, and d5. And if I remember correctly, I actually had a chance to equalize this game coming up. But c takes d5, e4. This is a mistake, and I'm going to show you guys this line. This line is pretty crazy that I could have played. So pawn to d6. Of course, I wasn't looking on the side of the board. I was just in fear. But pawn to d6, rook takes, d takes e7, e takes f3. I get to queen against Magnus Carlsen. Knight takes f8, bishop takes, rook to d2, queen to b1, and b5. And this is an equal position. Notes, I guess the quality is with rook e2 here. Yeah, so rook e2, and I get the rook exchange, and this is actually a drawable, at least in theory. This is a drawn position. So I did miss a chance to play this move d6, which would have been quite incredible, but again, I really just wasn't looking at the board. I was looking simply my knight's under attack. I'm not looking for these dynamic types of moves, unfortunately. But yeah, take c8, take c8, and yeah, knight to d2. This is a really bad move.
Sort of in the way there. Now I was hoping that he was gonna fall for this trick, since I think bishop b4 should win now.
So here I went for knight to c4. This is really the only way that I can somewhat survive this. I'm going to end up down a piece. Queen c5 is an accuracy. I don't really have much of a choice but to take. I'll play the king out. I'm a bit low on time here. I'm starting to, panic. I'm a bit mad at myself because I'm down a full piece. And I play this king to e2 move. And shamefully, I trap my own bishop.
Bishop c8, I'll go bishop e5 just to block everything. Now, to make matters even worse, my opponent has trapped his own bishop. Very unfortunately.
This, again, was another unfortunate display of chess for me. But, definitely mistakes to learn from. Like, the first game for sure really helped me out. Don't go crazy with exchanges because, especially when you're playing someone better than you, because they'll know whether the exchange is good or not. And for this game, I really can't say that much because it was a blitz game and it was really early in the morning for me. But I guess the lesson we learned from this game is to keep your eye open for anything, regardless of how strong your opponent is, because, like in this case, if I would have seen that d6 equalizes, looking outside the box, thinking outside the box in this position where my knight is under attack, just maybe you might be able to get a chance to, draw or even beat your opponent that may be stronger than you. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know these games weren't the best display of chess, but hopefully learn something from these games. And if you want to see more videos like this, where I go over some of my games, or any video ideas that you have in general, just let me know in the comments. But thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.